Prince Harry's book is reportedly complete as we break down more bombshell revelations from Tom Bower's explosive book.
Such an interesting story. Apparently, Meghan felt that Victoria Beckham was leaking stories to the press, so Harry called David Beckham on his cell phone and told him, it's just, I can't even picture this.
Queen Elizabeth heads to Balmoral, the Cambridges are headed to Boston, and the BBC issues a formal apology to Princess Diana's family for her 1995 interview.
I mean, this really is a good reminder of how toxic the media and the tabloid and sort of the media has been, especially in the UK, in relationship to the royal family. It's been like this for years and years and years.
And royal historian Gareth Russell breaks down his new book about the Queen Mother and how Harry and Meghan are changing royal history.
And I think Harry and Meghan will probably be remembered as the people who buried that attitude for themselves and for future generations of the royals. And that maybe is no bad thing.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Christine. I'll say it again, big week of royal news, lots to get to, from this BBC apology to these bombshell revelations from Tom Bower's book. I mean, we talked about it last week, but the hits keep on coming.
I know July and August are usually really, really slow for royal news. Like nothing usually happens. And this last week, it was just one big story after the next.
Yeah. So thank you, Tom Bower, for giving us something to talk about. But before we get to all of that, let's see what you guys have to say about last week's show. Daniel Wallace says, when Harry talks about finding solace in Africa after Diana died is interesting, considering that he omits the fact that Prince Charles was the one who took Harry to Africa after his mother died. A few of you made this point, saying that Charles was, instrumental in bringing Harry to Africa, and quite a few people actually brought that point up.
I would say that grief is such a difficult thing for a lot of people, and especially, and hindsight is also an interesting thing. But how Harry kind of processes that really traumatic experience, kind of up to Harry.
Yeah. Exactly. Jonesy says, talking about Tom Bower's book, finally, the actual truth is coming out thanks to Tom Bower. Tom was previously a lawyer before becoming a journalist, so would have been meticulous in composing his book. He's interviewed a huge number of people to obtain their viewpoint. The truth always comes out in the end. We're going to break down some of these bombshell revelations. It's hard to figure out, what is true, what isn't, because some of these are just like jaw on the floor.
I know. I heard somewhere that he's actually been sued. Tom Bower's been sued for libel 3 times by 3 different sort of celebrities, and has, won the claim every time because he absolutely everything he says is like solid, backed up. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting to see this unfold.
It is. All right. Well, let's get into the news of the week with our royal roundup and actually kick it off with Prince Charles and his sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, receiving an apology from BBC Director General Tim Davie. Of course, this is going back to Princess Diana's infamous Panorama interview. So in a statement, he said, "It's a matter of great regret that the BBC did not get the facts in the immediate aftermath of the program when there were warning signs that the interview might have been obtained improperly. Instead, as the Duke of Cambridge himself put it, the BBC failed to ask the tough questions. Had we done our job properly, Princess Diana would have known the truth during her lifetime. We let her, the royal family, and our audiences down. Now we know about the shocking way that the interview was obtained. I have decided that the BBC will never show the program again, nor will we license it in whole or part to other broadcasters." Of course, it was issued shortly after Tiki Lake-Burke, who nannied William and Harry throughout their childhood, won the defamation case against the BBC in London Higher Court. She was accused of being pregnant with Prince Charles' baby, and so she received a substantial sum from the network. They continue to apologize to the royal family for the way that which Diana was deceived from Barton Bashir. Like, this is crazy. And especially so many years, almost 30 years later, they're finally issuing an apology, finally, giving Tiggy the substantial sum that she deserved, because this is just insane.
I mean, this really is a good reminder of how toxic the media and the tabloid media and sort of the media has been, especially in the UK, in relationship to the royal family. It's been like this for years and years and years. I think this was a particularly bad time in terms of like media intrusion and sort of, tabloid quality journalism. It's a good reminder that this has been going on for such a long time. And I think it's good that the BBC is sort of owning up to it, and hopefully they've learned something from this experience.
Right. No, definitely. But the question is it too little too late? And then, Princess Diana's brother, Charles Spencer, wrote an op-ed for the Sunday Times and talking about this, saying, I feel that I was groomed, shown forged bank statements. I was told underhand payments of spying and appalling deception. He is asking again that the police not let this go, that they still investigate this. And he said that he is furious at what his sister was gone through. He says, I hope the police will reconsider their responsibilities in this matter. Only they have the power to get to the bottom of this terrible scandal, which led Diana to feel even more exposed and alone and deceived her into foregoing those who care for her and would have protected her. It's just a really sad situation all around.
It's so heartbreaking. And I think it's easy to say, like, well, could it have, what would have been different? What could have happened if this, because this wasn't just the interview. This was like months and months of building up to this, to convincing her to do this interview, months and months of sort of, gaslighting her and brainwashing her and interfering with her relationships and the people around her. So this does seem like a massive story. And I think that it's a shame that it was almost 30 years ago. Did we say 25 years ago?
25 years ago, yeah.
Because I think it would be a much bigger story. It's mind boggling. If it were a recent story, if this just happened, it would be everywhere.
Oh yeah, everywhere. All right, well, moving on. So it's time to mark your calendars because the December months is about to get a little merrier because Prince William and Duchess Kate are headed to the U.S. in December. The couple revealed that they are bringing the second Earthshot Prize Award ceremony to Boston. He announced the news via a video message via Twitter with the help of the Boston Red Sox. So take a look.
In 2022, we're back and bringing Earthshots to the USA, where we'll award the next 5 winners a prize.
And we will be doing it right here in Boston.
Very exciting. This is the first time that they are stepping back to U.S. soil in quite some time.
Yeah, so William and Kate were last in the U.S. in 2014. It was actually December 2014 when Kate was pregnant with Princess Charlotte. They visited New York. William made like a day trip down to D.C. And then before that, in 2011, they were in Los Angeles for like a day or two. So they really haven't spent a lot of time in the U.S. So this is so exciting. I love that they've chosen Boston. So the Earthshot Awards was sort of inspired by John F. Kennedy's Moonshot project. And obviously, the Kennedys were very, Boston was a place that was very important to them. So I love the connections and sort of building on other legacies and other sort of, historic projects.
Yeah, I love this. And I think back in the 70s, Queen Elizabeth visited Boston. So we do have some royals have visited the Bean City before. So it's nice to see them come back. I'm sure that this will be a great event, as was the previous Earthshot Awards. So it'll be great to see them come to Boston in December. Hopefully they don't get snowed out.
It doesn't snow a lot in the UK, so I think that would be really exciting.
Right.
Yeah, it would be really cool.
Definitely. All right. Well, Queen Elizabeth was spotted leaving Windsor Castle recently to travel to Balmoral Estate in Scotland, where she traditionally spends her summer months. Of course, she's returning to one of her favorite places, the Scottish Highlands. Now, since Balmoral Castle is open to the public until August 2nd this year, the Queen will most likely spend some weeks elsewhere before officially moving in. But this is, like you said, this is where she typically spends the end of the summer before kind of ramping up for the fall. So hopefully she gets some nice visitors as well.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see her. It is quite a lengthy journey to get up there. Yeah. Normally she travels by train. I don't know if that's how she traveled this time. I didn't catch the photos of her, in her headscarf. But usually all of the major members of the royal family visit her up there either together or just one at a time to spend time with her. So it's always a big family affair.
Yeah, definitely. A big family affair. Who knows? Maybe Harry and Meghan will make the trip over. But since he actually had a big legal one, he won the right to challenge the status of the UK security arrangements put in place following his decision to step back from royal duties. Now, the ruling follows a February 2020 decision by the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, RAVAC, I think that's the pronunciation. So to remove Harry's automatic right to UK police security after his 2020 announcement. So Judge Jonathan Swift granted the Duke of Sussex permission to apply for judicial review over the RAVAC decision. The decision means that the legal action will now proceed to a full hearing at the High Court in London between Harry and the UK government. He said that he felt unsafe bringing his family to the UK. So this is kind of like an unprecedented case, an unprecedented move. But, if it is a security risk and, if he feels unsafe, then, hopefully something can be worked out.
Yeah, this was so interesting. I was trying to read through the legal paperwork, and it was very confusing if you are not a lawyer to understand what's going on. But it sounds like this is just kind of, he's won the right to push the case forward, and they're not just going to settle. They're going to have he's going to have his day in court, so to speak. He's going to, have his statement and his feelings heard. Mm-hmm. So I think that was probably a good, felt good for him that, maybe his issues are valid. Yeah. It is hugely unprecedented. He is basically suing the Queen's government, Her Majesty's government. So it is such an interesting dynamic, and there's so many things at play. Unfortunately, and I don't know that this will be the case this time because they're suing, the government, but these lawsuits tend to be a field day for headlines and sort of pulling out stories and things like that. So I hope this is a civil lawsuit, like civil as in everyone plays along nicely.
Definitely. I think they have 50 days to file papers relating to the case, and a date for the hearing has yet to be finalized. So we'll keep you updated as we hear. So let's get into, let's build some royalty, get into these bombshell allegations from Tom Bower's book. So the one that really caught my eye was Tom Bower saying that Harry and Meghan accused Victoria and David Beckham of leaking stories about them, so random and just so odd. I guess David Beckham denied that he did that, but Tom Bower wrote that Harry and Meghan felt that the Beckhams were leaking stories about them.
Yeah, interesting. When I was looking into that, it didn't look like either party had commented on this story, but It's another example where, they're now Tom Bower's now dragging the Beckhams into this. Mm-hmm. And that kind of, if he doesn't have really ironclad sources to back this up, he's not going to drag another high profile family into this to then get their, legal team on his tail. Right. But it's such an interesting story. Apparently, Meghan felt that Victoria Beckham was leaking stories to the press. So Harry called David Beckham on a cell phone and told him, it's just, I can't even picture this, I can't imagine the dynamic.
No, and Victoria and David were at the wedding, so they were friends at one point. So I don't know, very, very strange. There was also an allegation that, when they named their daughter Lilibet, they never did ask the Queen for permission, since this is her, naming their daughter after her. That was another allegation.
So interesting.
Yeah, wanting Meghan to make amends with her father, that the Queen and Prince Charles really pushed her to do so, and she didn't want to. The list kind of goes on and on.
I know it is interesting to see these stories come out, and we haven't heard a comment from anybody, so far, except for one journalist. These stories have so far gone unchallenged, which we spoke before, that when the Sussexes do sort of, send legal papers left, right, and center, when they don't, people start to get a little bit, I don't know if suspicious is the word, but kind of like, well, if you're not suing him, does that mean that this is true? But I'm sure that they're not happy with these stories that are coming out from all over the place.
I'm sure they're not. Well, let's speaking of, books and things like that. So, ghostwriter J.R. Moroder, who co-authored Andre Agassi's autobiography, Open, reportedly finished Prince Harry's manuscript this summer. A publishing source told The Sun the manuscript has been finished and gone through all the legal processes. It's done and out of Harry's hands. The publishing date has been pushed back once, but it is on track for the end of the year. I have no idea if this is definitely true or not, but supposedly Harry's book is complete. It was pushed back. We don't know. It doesn't have a publishing date yet. We don't know if it'll be here by the end of the year next year. We know it's coming, but we just don't know when.
It's so interesting because most of the books that are coming out at the end of the year, they've had, press releases and cover reveals and things like that. And granted, Harry's book will sell itself. It's not like they have to do a huge marketing push for it. Yeah. But I'm surprised that we haven't seen any more details on this.
Yeah, it's very surprising. And who knows, maybe they'll pull a Beyonce and just drop the book and and that'll be it. We don't know.
With a bunch of music videos along with it.
Exactly. All right. Well, now it is time to break down the royal rules. And this week we're so excited. We're sitting down with royal historian and author of the upcoming book, Let's Have Another Drink, Gareth Russell. He is here to talk about his book, all about the Queen Mother and how Harry and Meghan are changing royal history. And, brought up your point before about why they may not be responding to Tom Bower's allegations. Take a look. Well, Gareth, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to chat with you. And you have this great book coming out in a couple months, Let's Have Another Drink. So why did you decide to write this book all about the Queen Mother?
I think it was because no one had done it. And anytime anytime her name came up, I'd heard lots of funny stories. She had a great sense of humor, good one-liners over the years. And I thought, well, this might be the perfect time to do the book. So the book is it's structured in a way that hopefully you can share the stories over a dinner party or over drinks. That's what she'd want. It's 101 anecdotes, one for each year of the Queen Mother's life. Some of them get a little bit into the grittier parts of her life, like what did she really think of Wallis Simpson? What was her real relationship with Princess Diana like? And others are one-liners that some of her surviving friends told me. So there's hopefully a nice range there.
Speaking of being protective, it seemed like the Queen Mother was protective over Prince Charles as well. But wasn't she instrumental in convincing him to not leave the royal family? Didn't he want to kind of move to Italy and live a more normal life?
Well, and that was one of the things I found out. I heard that from 3 different people, that this was really in the 1990s at the height or depth of tabloid intrusion into his life and Diana's. And I think he was, he felt he was very, very angry, and it was getting to the stage where it had really affected his life, his estranged wife's life, their children's lives. People forget how remorseless media intrusion to them was in the 90s. And he had come up with this idea, allegedly, that he would spend 6 months of the year living in Tuscany in northern Italy. And the Queen Mother, from what I can tell, she never approached a point head on. She liked to duck and weave to get there. What was unsaid was as important as what was said. And she never really spoke about his great uncle, Edward VIII, and Wallis Simpson. That just was very seldom discussed. And what I heard was that when she got wind of Operation Tuscany, let's call it, she under the Tuscan sun, she decided to talk to Charles over dinner about Edward and how she felt one of his big mistakes had been going to live abroad and had been going to live in France and Austria after he abdicated. And it was very clear what point she was trying to make without specifically saying it. And we don't hear much about Tuscany after that. So that, I think, so she was pretty instrumental. And I think a lot of people have grandmothers who make the point in camouflage.
What do you think she would have thought about Harry's recent life choices had she been around to see?
Yeah. That's a fantastic question. It's been one, so I can say fairly confidently, because she actually was asked, I think around the time of Harry's christening, what advice she would give, and it was, and the answer was, put your country first. So I think, in terms of just what the Queen Mother's attitudes were, she would not have approved of moving to live abroad. We've already seen that with Prince Charles. That's not to say the Queen Mother was right and Prince Harry was wrong, or vice versa. I think it's maybe a generational thing. I think, the Queen Mother had never experienced the full impact, as Prince Harry has, of full media intrusion So I think maybe it was a little bit, he's obviously making his decision based off a more modern reality. She would be basing hers off the reality she lived through. But certainly, I think someone who'd gone through World War I and World War II in Britain, for her, you did not leave, and that was it. So, and one of her proudest moments for her husband was him refusing to leave Britain during the Nazi bombing raids. So for her, there was just a different way of viewing the world. So I can say fairly confidently I don't think she would have approved of any member of the royal family leaving Britain, not permanently, of course, but to live abroad. But that's not to say, as I said, that one was right and one was wrong.
As a royal historian, how do you feel Harry and Meghan are changing royal history?
I suppose it's always a little bit too early to tell. I think so. I think we'll have to see where it goes in the next 5 years. I think, and this is maybe this clip will be played back and I'll be incredibly wrong. but what I think, where probably what one of the long-term consequences will be is that these values that were put in place by the Queen Mother, who coined the phrase when it came to the public and the media with the royals should famously never explain, never complain. Mm-hmm. And I think Harry and Meghan will probably be remembered as the people who buried that attitude for themselves and for future generations of the royals. And that maybe is no bad thing. Certainly the Queen Mother was probably one of the most successful queen consorts in history. I mean, she had a pretty much undented popularity from 1923 to 2002. It's an extraordinary marathon of a career, but the world has changed. Speculation is different to what it was in the 1930s and 1940s when she was coining these mantras. It's a lot. And also from Harry's perspective, he saw the way in which press intrusion and press speculation directly ended his mother's life. Mm-hmm. I think it's just, they're talking about a different ballgame. And I think maybe in the future, the royals will have to get a bit punchier when it comes to the press and come to comments. So I think we will see, on the positive side, a more firm and strident attitude with the press from the British royals. In terms of, I think it's pretty obvious that there's some bad blood there. Mm-hmm. And obviously both sides have attracted a lot of supporters and detractors online. My own feeling is a family that's divided tends to have a lot more difficulties than one that's united. It's also just generally very sad, whatever you think of the circumstances. So I would say long term, it'll be a positive for the monarchy. What it will be for the individual royals, that could be a different thing to see where it goes. But I'm sort of mildly sentimental. I prefer to see families getting on. So fingers crossed that this resolves itself in a good way. But I do think the attitudes to the press and what they do and don't say have been shattered. And long term, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. We've been talking so much about Tom Bower's new book, which has bombshell allegations regarding Meghan and Harry. Do you think that their response towards these allegations might change from the way they would have responded in the past?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think so. I think it could have, because part of the problem is, and I'm sort of contradicting what I just said, but you can't respond to it all. You'll drive yourself mad. The amount of time, the problem is when you're as famous as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, there is going to be a lot. I mean, there is going to be a lot of speculation. It's the same with the Cambridges. It's the same with any of the Windsors. If you go out answering every single book or allegation, it will consume your entire day. You won't have spare time to devote to your own mental health and your own well-being. And so I think that actually, it's a really good point, Christine. I think maybe the question, the response this time will be really different, because it isn't if you're looking at it from a perspective of, if you're the Sussex's friends, it doesn't always do anyone good in public life to always be answering and rebutting those claims. So yeah, I think with the Tom Bower book, perhaps this is where we'll see a slightly different strategy and prioritizing of their time.
Well, Gareth, thank you so much. This was wonderful. It was great getting your perspective and learning all about your book. Please tell everybody when they can get the book, if they can pre-order it right now. Please.
Sure. Well, you can pre-order. It's out with Simon & Schuster in the US on November 1st. It's called Do Let's Have Another Drink. And it's the fizzy life and sparkling wit of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. So I really hope people enjoy it. And yes, it is. It's available for pre-order in the US and Canada.
Definitely so interesting. I'm so excited for his book. Do Let's Have Another Drink, like you said, out November 1st in the US. So definitely pre-order it now.
I know, it sounds like so much fun. And again, another book coming out towards the end of the year. We've got a cover. We know
all about this one. We're excited. All right. Well, things that we are excited about. Time to check in with our pint-sized palace. And this is adorable. Prince George celebrated his 9th birthday with a brand new photo. Ahead of his 9th birthday, Duchess Kate and Prince William released a new portrait. He appeared to be at the beach, flashed a very cheeky grin. He seemed so excited to turn 9. Queen Elizabeth also wished him a happy birthday via Twitter. So we don't know exactly how he celebrated his birthday, but I'm sure he was very well celebrated.
Yeah, it says that the photo was taken on holiday in the UK, and they do like to go to Cornwall and the Isle of the Scilly Isles for their UK, but they're sort of staycations, if you will. So perhaps they were there, but I can't believe he's 9. It makes me feel so old.
Seriously, I just remember him being born and her walking out of the hospital looking like she never gave birth. So yeah, happy birthday to Prince George, 9 years old. So cute. So cute. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode. A full week of royal news. Lots to get to this week. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Christine, thank you. Thank you so much as always.
Yeah. Thank you. This was fun.
It was. All right, guys. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we will see you guys next week. Bye. Hey everyone. I'm Christina Garibaldi, the host of Us Weekly Celebrity Coverage. Don't forget to hit subscribe for the latest celebrity news, tips, and video. And for much more content, make sure you head on over to usmagazine.com, the official home of Us Weekly Magazine.